Well, Oscar Piastri, it's great to catch up with you, and we're catching up in the McLaren Technology Centre. It's my first time here, just looking out the window now. It's an impressive place. I've had to walk past, so much history. Do you remember the first time you walked into this building and the emotions it gave you?
Yeah, so I walked in here for the first time, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago. I actually had a little tour of MTC. Little did I know that like 5 years later I'd be racing for the team. So yeah, like that first tour was very cool. And then of course the first day I came here as a driver and working for the team was even more special. So it's a very, very cool place to come work. And yeah, glad to be a part of it.
There's some really nice cars in the car park, as you can imagine.
Yes.
What's the one thing in this building that I'm not allowed to see that is quite cool? Is it the sim?
The sim, yes. I mean, the wind tunnel is quite cool as well, where like you see like the model car and how it all kind of works and stuff. Those are probably the two coolest areas that I find as a driver. To be honest, there's still parts of this building that even I haven't seen.
You don't have access all areas?
I'm sure I do, but I don't trust myself to not get lost. So
Or play with stuff.
Or play
Big
with
red
stuff.
buttons.
Yeah.
Don't press.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but I would say, yeah, the sim, which we use a lot, and then the wind tunnel, which I've been to a few times too.
As workplaces go, this is seriously cool. We're talking just after Silverstone. Initial reaction to that weekend?
Very good fun. Silverstone's always a really cool race, and the British crowd is, even as an Aussie, is pretty cool.
But you've been here a long time, right? You've
yes.
been here what? 8 years now?
8 years,
Crazy.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like almost been a second home race for me in some ways. I lived close to Silverstone for a few years, so yeah, it's always brought back nice memories, and the crowd really gets behind the event as well. And I think racing for McLaren probably helps get a few fans on side. But as a weekend, I think yeah, on paper it looks like a decent result, but I think we felt like there was a bit more left on the table. So yeah, slightly mixed feelings, I would say. I think yeah, a few things we could have done a bit better, but still a lot of points, still the most points of any team. But yeah, it's always exciting when you know there's more to come.
Onwards and upwards, I say.
Exactly.
I have to say, sitting in the crowd, I wasn't there as media. I was just there as a fan with some friends. I was sat in a very Lewis Hamilton-dominated area. People had been there all weekend having a great time. He got the most cheers.
Yes.
He has to.
Fair enough.
Lando was getting the second most cheers, but I think you were probably getting the third most cheers, which is, I think pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I would say that's cool. And to be honest, you're not the first person that's told me that, actually. So I know you're not just trying to make me feel better.
Absolutely not, no.
But no, I mean, it's really cool. I felt even last year when I raced at Silverstone, I was slightly surprised at how many cheers I got. We had like individual cars for the drivers' parade, and I actually got a few cheers, which as an Aussie felt a bit weird, but very cool.
If it was an Ashes year, we wouldn't be cheering you.
Well, last year it was an Ashes year.
And you still got cheered?
I still got cheered. I had people chanting my name in the middle of the Ashes, and I even reminded the crowd that Australia was 2-0 up.
Of course you did.
So it didn't finish that way, unfortunately. But yeah, for some reason they were cheering me on. Again, I think being in Papaya helps me out there. But no, it's nice to have the crowd, and they are a very passionate crowd. And I always love racing in front of them.
Can you hear them when you're going around? Because, no, this is the thing, right? Because in front of us, there was a woman, and like she was waving at Lewis Hamilton every time he went round. So like 54 times, if you include the formation lap and the warm down lap. In the end, he actually probably did end up waving after he won the race.
Yeah.
But we were debating this in the stands. You can't hear, but can you feel the energy? There's got to be a vibe, right?
Yeah, you definitely can't hear them, or hear the fans.
Or anything, I imagine. It's just a loud noise.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, honestly, even hearing the engine is not that easy. It's just all wind noise, basically. Right. But you do feel it. Like if you drive there when there's no fans versus when it's fully sold out or fully packed, then it is a big difference. Especially when a lot of people wearing McLaren merchandise. Is pretty hard to not stand out. So. You do notice a difference, definitely. You don't hear it, but yeah, it adds to the atmosphere, definitely. Especially going on the drivers' parade and you actually get to see it, and then you do hear it. That's probably one of the coolest parts of the weekend, honestly. So yeah, we still see them, see the fans, but we don't hear you.
Well, look, someone chose a very, very bright colour that everyone's going to see. So
exactly.
Hats off to whoever chose that. We've got to talk about Lando's success this year. Obviously, that win in Miami was a huge moment for him. How far away is that first Grand Prix win for you? Because you have the sprint race win. You're in a car that's now challenging at the front, some great upgrades.
Yeah.
Zach Brown has told me earlier this year when we had him on the show that, both drivers are going to win this year. Lando's won already. Mm-hmm. If there's a track coming up, for example, that you think, you know what, I fancy this one, where were you looking at?
I honestly don't know. I think, there's been, I think Austria probably wasn't a track where I expected to be so close. Monaco either. I think as a team we surprised ourselves a little bit with our competitiveness. So that was a close opportunity, but I don't really want to put it down to a track. We certainly didn't expect to win in Miami after the last couple of years we had there. So we'll see. I think we've had a couple of near misses, a couple of close opportunities, and I think with the car that we've got now, we'll have more. So I don't want to put it just down to one track and put the pressure on that, but hopefully it's more than one.
Does it feel close though?
It does feel close.
Okay.
Yes, I think the last 8 or 9 races, I think either Lando or I have finished first or second, and obviously third at Silverstone. But we've been incredibly close a lot of times now. I think for me personally, Monaco was close. Austria close. If Silverstone had have gone a bit differently at a couple of moments, then that was a close one as well. So it feels like we're getting very, very close, and there are going to be opportunities in the future. We just need to make sure that we capitalise on them.
You do. Shuey. When you win that race, we've seen George do his kind of like intro credits, Jesus kind of pose. We've seen celebrations over the years. The Shuey is something you did on stage this past weekend. It didn't look like Lando was too involved in the Shuey. He didn't really want to be part of that.
No,
doesn't like champagne out of a sweaty shoe.
Neither do I. But it was Danny Rick that really started that for everyone, and then it's just by association being Australian, really. I didn't really want to continue it on. I feel like that's Danny Rick's thing, but last year the peer pressure got the better of me, and this year apparently it did too. So I had to do something to cheer us up. I think we were a bit disappointed immediately after the race. So I thought that would be a good way to lift the spirits, and I had to get Lando involved because last year he made me do it and didn't do it himself. So he was not getting away unscathed this year.
Well, look, when you win this Grand Prix race, you've got to think of your own thing. I was going to say this. That is a Danny Rick thing.
It won't be a shoeing.
Can we get like a nice forward defensive? Or maybe a hook? Get Lando to bowl. There's you love cricket. Pat Cummins was there this past weekend.
Yeah.
How did that come about, actually? Was that like he drops you a DM or you just good mates? Is there...
I met him last year. I met pretty much the whole Australian team last year during the Ashes. And had a couple of guys, had Nathan Lyon and Kawaja and Alex Carey in Melbourne this year, and Pat Cummins was in Europe and around. Got in touch with my management and said, can I come to the race? And
nice.
We managed to, the team managed to sort that out. So it was really cool to have him there. But I met quite a few of the guys last year.